Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, beautiful people of the internet, welcome back to Last Level, and welcome to the debut episode of Roundtable Review, our series where we take a look at a game as a group, get everybody's feedback and opinions, argue a little bit, and eventually come to the conclusion on whether it's worth a buy or not. Joining us on the panel today, Vice President of Last Level, good friend of mine, and resident pixel artist and indie game developer. Please welcome Nathan Cookingham.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
And esports expert, currently streaming the Late Night Hour on Mortality Esports and Smite Central, running his own marketing firm for esports organizations that you can check out at quesadilla.gg. Why did you pick a hard name to pronounce? Please welcome to the panel, Nolan Mercer.
Hello. The reason we picked quesadilla, I was hungry at the time. So
That's a good enough reason, in my opinion.
All
that's
business
what worked.
You know what? Maybe that was Steve Jobs' things as well. Who knows? Probably.
I don't know. Have you seen the movie? He said he got it in the movie. Ashton Kutcher says that they got
Which
it.
movie? There's
records.
like 6 at this point.
The one with Ashton Kutcher.
Oh yeah.
The only movie
Kutcher,
that
man.
matters.
Yeah. Well.
Yes.
Anyway, so today.
True story.
Today we're talking about Infinite Crisis, the brand new MOBA game from DC Comics. Now, Nolan is on the panel because he is an expert in MOBA games, and Nathan's on the panel because he would feel left out if he wasn't. So let's
Hey, I'm semi-expert. I play MOBAs.
Alright, well,
Something.
the game has launched a couple weeks ago, and it's currently available on Steam or the Infinite Crisis website. It's completely free. It is similar to a MOBA structure where there are cosmetic items that are available for a small amount of money or in-game currency as you level up and play some games. Now, Nolan is an esports expert, so to speak, has played a lot of different MOBAs and has played Infinite Crisis while it was in its beta. Let's get your opening thoughts, Nolan.
Oh boy. So I played a little bit before we started talking, just to catch up on it. And one thing that really got me, and I was really hoping they would change this on launch, was the way that you build items. The whole tier thing to an item that no one does anymore, that no one has ever really stuck with. That has to be my biggest pet peeve when it comes to this game. And just the whole layout of the shop when you're getting an item, other than that, gameplay is fun. You know, comic book heroes are always exciting to play as. It's kind of like that whole thing where everyone wants to be a superhero. You can't really do it unless you play this game or another superhero-esque game.
I actually kind of like that system. You know, I'm new to the MOBA game, so to speak. I mean, I played a few of them for small amounts of time, but I was never very good. I thought it was really easy to pick out your recommended items and to upgrade them as you go. And I thought this is a very controversial opinion. I actually liked the ability that you can buy from a turret without actually having to go back to your base. Was that something you liked or disliked, or it changed the game a little too much, or made it too easy, or what was your opinions on that? Because I know people are all over the place with that.
At first, I didn't like the idea, and then you kind of realize that all you're doing is getting an item. It's not healing you. It's not doing really anything.
Yeah,
and the items
you can't
are
buy
so expensive.
You can't buy actual the mana pots or the health pots. Sorry, you can't actually buy those at tower. And if you do, they don't replenish until you go back to the Nexus.
So the tower is just stat upgrade items, basically. You can't.
Essentially. But the issue is with the store, you don't, like, when you go into the store, it's like, you know, 50 for, like, plus 50 will, plus 50 power. It doesn't explain what any of it is, what will is, what power is. It doesn't. It's vague. It's a very vague term. Like, everybody has always used, you know, armor, magical protection, mana,
But they're the same thing, they just have different names, and for an experienced mobile player, it's pretty easy to connect the dots, and for someone who doesn't know it, I went through the tutorial. I know Nathan only went through a bit of it, and Nolan, you didn't, because you're an expert at MOBAs, you didn't really pay attention to it at all. I thought it was great tutorialization. There is some mandatory practice games and tutorial games that I thought were really well done because they had a cool story to them and advanced the lore a little bit, but it kind of explained to you very very easily. Kind of held your hand through learning, I think it was Gaslamp Batman in this tutorial. So you kind of, at the end of that, you kind of had the feel for at least one of the characters. And if you keep the tutorial tips on, it'll actually give you audible, you know, requests and recommendations while you're playing a game. And I thought that was really cool. At one point, actually, there's a little bit of a miscommunication because my, you know, the voice of whoever it was is, oh, you're playing as Gaslamp Batman. You should go top, and that should be your lane. And so I immediately didn't think anything of it and started walking the top lane. And Nathan was kind of like, oh, I don't know, is this really a top hero? So there's a little bit of miscommunication there because it doesn't really account for styles of play or as the meta changes. But, I mean, for someone who doesn't understand the game, is that a huge feature?
Something I have noticed though is in the patch notes they have changed some of the tutorial wording to go along with bug fixes or balance changes. Like if I think the Doombot in the middle, it got changed recently, and the tutorial was giving false information about its effects when you use it, and they actually update that. So I'm sure that's not as big of an issue.
Because there's always in MOBAs there's kind of like the casual meta and then the pro next level elite strat meta, and so that could totally change what heroes belong in what lanes and all that. But while we're on the topic of lanes, let's actually talk about the actual maps, because this is the feature that I think that even over like League of Legends or Dota, I love the idea of the destructible terrain. I love the idea that you can throw cars and massively destroy a whole wave. I think there's a lot of cool stuff going on with the actual maps of the game. How does that compare? How does that affect the competitive aspect of the game?
Well, since each map is linked to a specific hero, where Coast City is Green Lantern, you have the Gotham cities, which are obviously Batman and Robin. I feel like they should kind of add a little bit more, you know, maybe add one for Superman, add like a Metropolis kind of thing. That'd be cool. Then you can use the big ball on the top of the building as an item.
And I'm sure that'll come in time. It doesn't seem like...
I get the interaction. I like the interaction with cars because it opens up spots. You know, you can get to like in Coast City, I guess what would be considered the Dragon in League. It's at the very bottom. It's at the very bottom lane, and the only way to get there is through the two little like, I don't even know what they're called. They're not bushes.
Stealth
like,
fields.
Yeah. They're little like hex things on the map that they don't look like much, but they yeah.
I think that's their actual name.
Yeah,
I might be wrong.
That sounds right.
But they essentially function as bushes function in League of Legends.
Yeah, like it's easy because you like the only way to get there is through there. But sometimes if you have your jungler come around and throw a car at them, you can get through there because that car is gone. Which it makes things definitely a lot easier when it comes to being able to move terrain and destroy the terrain.
And it's not like it's something like crazy that we haven't seen before. I know, you know, in Dota there's a lot of stuff you can do with the trees. And
yeah, you can eat the trees.
You can eat the trees.
Regen health with it, man.
Yeah, it's called the tango.
School.
You get a tango, you munch on a tree.
Yeah. Well, so
there's some nutrition in that.
Here's the other half of it.
Fiber. There's fiber in that.
Here's the other half of it, which is kind of why we have Nolan on the panel. Let's talk about competitive play from an esports level. Nolan has promoted teams and played on Smite and League of Legends and Dota and all of these things, and so that has kind of changed the way that MOBA games are promoted, the way that MOBA games are released, because everyone wants a piece of this huge and rapidly growing esports industry. Is that something that Infinite Crisis will be able to nudge into and become a part of?
I think because they tried it too early, they tried it in closed beta, like teams were getting picked up constantly, kind of like how Heroes of the Storm did it, where Curse and My Insanity had the two first Heroes of the Storm teams when the game was still in tech alpha. And I mean, granted, it's Blizzard compared to Warner Brothers, so Blizzard can promote a game better. They can give bigger prize pools, which is what they've been doing. I mean, that game.
I'm sorry. Did you just say that Blizzard has more money than Warner Brothers?
No, they're able to put it forth.
Right,
Warner
okay,
Brothers
okay.
isn't, because it's a game.
Yeah.
I don't think a video game is in their budget, to be honest.
Well, they've done a good job of embracing. I know that the Batman games, they've trailed off with the newer ones, but those were pretty huge and a very big success for Warner Brothers. So I wouldn't be surprised if they embraced gaming and putting money into it a little more.
They definitely should, but I don't really think esports is in their area.
Even on their radar.
Yeah, because the only people that have ever really held a major tournament were ESL, the Electronic Sports League. And as good of a format they had, where there was weeklies, and then whoever won the weeklies qualified for the monthly, and the monthly had a bigger prize pool. The issue is, when that is the only form of tournament and no one else has anything else, the chances of teams getting picked up are a lot slimmer.
Yeah, because, they have to leverage their time. Is it worth it for us to get a team, sponsor a team, train as a team when there's only one major organization supporting it in tournament form? Whereas, Dota and League of Legends and even Smite, to an extent, you can be a year-round team at various tournaments and LANs.
Except I'm gonna take that back and kind of say, except in North America. In North America, right, because esports isn't taken nearly as seriously, it's a lot harder to find North American Dota tournaments, because you have, MLG, you have Join Dota, and that's about it, really, unless you qualify for a major.
Right.
And then for League, there's honestly nothing, really. There's the Challenger Series if you make it,
which,
and that's about it. Like,
excludes 98% of the player base.
Exactly, because, the NESL was, at least back when I started playing around Season 1 and Season 2, that was the big thing for teams that weren't in the Pro League. You had the smaller teams like CLG Black, and who else was around there? I can't even remember Season 2, to be honest. But back when Curse had their team, Curse was there, CLG, their sister team, TSM Evo, that's them. They were there. That was a good team. Team Fear was around that kind of era, but they don't have that anymore. There aren't smaller tournaments for teams to compete in.
Well, do you think a MOBA in today's, day and age can be successful kind of falling behind in the esports game? Do you think that that's a make or break, or do you think that they can survive kind of like a traditional competitive online game? People play it for fun against their friends, but it becomes huge.
Unless someone actually, more people decide to host tournaments with prize pools, it won't last as a competitive game.
But that doesn't exclude it from lasting as a good game. I mean, it could
it definitely has the opportunity to last as a good game. I mean, Heroes of New Earth is still around. They just had their World Championship. It's still, that game's been out for a long time. They haven't really changed a whole lot, but it still has a followship. Like, people will still play the game because it's a game they enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
And Infinite Crisis, because it's comic book heroes, it's superheroes.
It's got that branding already.
Yeah, it makes it more recognizable to someone that might not even be familiar with MOBAs to say, hey, look at this cool game I can play Superman against Batman, and have Joker on my team. And that appeals to a large group of people that, the comic book fans is still alive and well, and a massive group of people that are going to jump in because of that name recognition.
Exactly. So, I mean, it definitely, it will last as a game if they continue to support it, release new stuff, new characters. And I think what will make it last even longer is if they take community input, if they allow people to, give ideas for abilities for new heroes, or new skins for heroes and stuff like that. Then the game will continue, because not only are people understanding that, hey, they're actually listening to my input, people will buy it because it's community made, it's what people want, it's more than likely what people upvoted on Reddit, so it'll be more money in Warner Brothers' pocket and more money to put into the game. So it'll be like a cycle if they just kind of follow the simple step of listening to the community.
Let's talk aesthetics and characters real quick. One thing that was really interesting to me, jumping into Infinite Crisis without really knowing much about it and nothing about the backstory and development, is very interesting to me that there are multiple characters due to how the story is set up with the Infinite Universe kind of storyline. There are multiple Batmans in the game. There are multiple Supermans in the game. There are multiple Jokers in the game, and they're not skins. They're actually characters that behave and perform and have different roles, completely different. Do you think that complicates things a little bit as far as on the map, you're suddenly you don't know what Joker you're facing? Or do you think that's a cool feature that it's like, okay, collect all the Batmans, and you could do that through playing the game for a ridiculous amount of hours or putting down a couple bucks?
Well, one thing that I noticed is Nightmare Batman and Nightmare Superman looked a little too similar to start with, and then they changed Nightmare Batman so he looks more like a vampire, and it's honestly a little too spooky for me.
Too spooky, mate.
Yeah, 3 spooky, 5 me. That's the best way to put it. But I mean, you don't really see mirror matchups that often anymore. The most you'll see is like a Poison Ivy versus Poison Ivy support, because she's honestly really the only viable support, which as a support main in every game I've ever played, that's kind of annoying.
And obviously that'll change. I mean, as characters get added, they sort of flesh out that role, that there'll be a couple decent support options, and so you'll see that a little less, hopefully.
Yeah, I think what they should do, and I know there's a game that did this and I can't remember who it is and it's gonna infuriate me, but they could do like the whole like TF2 thing where even though you're playing the same character, you have a different color.
Right, yeah.
You kind of have like, I mean, maybe like red side could have like a lighter shade and the blue side could have like a darker shade. So that way you can kind of figure out,
Yeah.
I think just looking at the bar.
Yeah, I'm interested to hear Nathan's opinion on it, because, you know, he has worked on art in games. He's very critical of that sort of stuff as an artist. You know, is that a negative thing or a positive thing?
Here's the thing. I think gameplay-wise, they're going to run into an issue of readability, because not only do they have, you know, okay, they've got Atomic Joker, they've got regular Joker, you know, all these different types of Jokers. And that's great. Like, you know, they make them look different enough, so maybe you can, you know, okay, this is this Joker, and I know what he does, and this is this other Joker. I think it gets a little, like, murky once you start throwing in, oh yeah, an Atomic Joker has 3 skins, and regular Joker has 3 skins.
Yeah.
It might get to the point where it's like, I have zero idea which Joker this is and what he's about to do to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because so much of, like, higher level play is anticipating attacks, knowing what your abilities are that you're about to face, and then predicting them and dodging them and countering them. And if you can't actively figure out in your mind in a split second, like, this is what's coming out, then you're at a major disadvantage, and it's not entirely your fault.
And some of the skins don't even look like the actual character. Like, it looks like you're playing a completely different character.
Yeah.
Like, what is it? It's the Blackbeard Batman. Like, when I first saw that, I was like, is that some like villain that I've never seen in a comic before? Like, I don't understand the concept of the skin. I've personally never seen it in game once. I can only recall seeing maybe 2 Batmans the entire time I've played the game. But there's skins like that. They have a few skins that they don't look like the character.
I think the developers are caught in a really interesting spot, because they have access to this massive and all recognizable library of assets from Warner Brothers, and, you know, they're trying to cram so many in that it's gonna complicate things.
I mean, they put in Sinestro, they put in Swamp Thing. Like, that was cool, and they put in Sinestro. I liked that idea. Swamp Thing was, you know, not really someone you saw a lot in comics. He was kind of, you know, oh, excuse me.
I'm not editing that out, by the way, just so you know.
Go for it.
Okay.
I don't know, it's just, hold on, I'm looking at the character list right now.
Yeah, what are they up to? I think I counted...
Atrocitus from the Green Lantern series. Like, he's... Like, when they put that in, I thought that was really cool, because that's also not someone that I expected. Like, you know, when they put in all these people from, you know, things that you you never would have really expected. Like, they put in Nightmare Robin, which I honestly didn't think they would support more than one Robin. They put in Stargirl, which was
Yeah, that's kind of an out there
crazy.
pick. Yeah.
Starro, the weird starfish thing.
Yeah.
Blue Beetle, dude.
But
Yeah,
I
they
think-
put in Blue Beetle, who's actually a very new hero.
But I think that a lot of that is fan service, and especially once they'll get community feedback, that's going to be huge. Is these offbeat heroes that aren't in the spotlight in the movies or have TV shows are coming out, but you know, there's always a fan base that, oh, that's my favorite guy, and they don't get attention, and this is a platform for them to come out, and they can really balance and turn a character into anything they want as far as a gameplay perspective. So that's cool.
I do think, I'm gonna say this, and I hope I don't get like called like a feminist or anything, but I think the addition of Hot Girl
You fucking feminist.
was probably one of the smartest things they've ever done. Because Hot Girl is pretty old school. She's been around since the 40s.
Yeah.
And she's not very recognized, but she's insanely popular amongst quite a large crowd. And then they have Supergirl and Stargirl. So the addition of, and Star Sapphire, forgot about that. And the addition of these smaller female characters are going to bring in a different crowd, in my opinion. Because there's a lot of, in League of Legends and Dota, actually, there's a lot of female players that prefer to play female characters. They find it empowering.
Yeah.
And I completely understand that. And they're adding, they also, Katana is another person that they added, which I honestly would not expect whatsoever.
Yeah.
And you think these, like, bringing in these characters that are a little less recognizable, as the game takes off and the player base comes in, do you think those will kind of put those characters in the forefront that we'll start seeing them on, you know, other forms? Because Warner Brothers has access to and produces pretty much every form of media there is. Do you think this could be kind of the re-emergence of some of these random characters that you see? Because I know the Batman series, which one of them I played all the way through, I think it was Arkham City, just had so many random Batman villains that you haven't seen in years, and it kind of got you thinking, like, oh man, it'd be cool to see Penguin back in a movie or something cool like that.
Yeah. Well, like, a lot of the things that they're doing now, they're not related to specific series. There's like Swamp Thing is his own series. He's not someone, to my knowledge, that you really saw in, like, you know, Swamp Thing versus Superman. I know he has some relation to, like, Martian Manhunter or Aquaman, which Aquaman's a badass. I'm gonna say that right there.
Dude, I want my Aquaman movie.
Yeah.
I know, right? I mean, everybody thinks he's fucking lame, but he's insanely good in Infinite Crisis, and he's insanely good in Injustice.
Well, if you look at, like, something like Marvel, like, you know, they really digged into the vault with lesser-known characters for something like Guardians of the Galaxy, but that was a tremendous success, and it brought those guys to the forefront, you know, that there weren't a lot of people talking about the Guardians of the Galaxy comic. It wasn't a big thing.
Well,
And
Rocket Raccoon was always popular.
But you know what I mean, for the casual fan, it's just like, they, you know, they didn't make an Iron Man 16 as much as everyone would want to watch that.
If they put I bet you anything, if they put Guardians of the Galaxy inside Marvel vs. Capcom, then that would have helped it a lot.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Like, they
That's
have
what I mean,
Rocket
DC can
Raccoon.
use this as another platform.
Oh, they could, without a doubt. I think if they do, because they also have, what is it, DC Universe?
Uh-huh.
The MMO, yeah.
Yeah, like, that's pretty cool. They introduce a lot of people you wouldn't expect in there. But I think, you know, it is a MOBA, but the MOBA thing is kind of limited. I think if they did like a DC versus Marvel, like, fighting game, then it would work a bit better than this game. Cause I
Yeah,
have a feeling,
the game's great. They should just make a different one that's completely different.
I mean, but that's the thing, is like, playing this game, and I'm sure you guys notice this too, that people kind of stick with specific heroes.
Yeah, no, that's true.
You don't really see people, you know, you'll see like the occasional Harley Quinn, you'll see, you know, a bunch of Poison Ivy, a bunch of Shazam. Everyone picks Shazam. You'll see Superman, Wonder Woman, lots of Jokers in the mid lane. you know, bunch of Wonder Womans, but you know, you don't really see a Hawk Girl, you don't see a Crypto.
Right. And how much from the casual players is they're picking a character when they get to that screen, it's less of, okay, this is a good counter to this, and more of, ooh, Batman, you know, and click.
Yeah, I think the casually it's more of who they like.
Yeah.
Like for me, if I was just to do that, then I would pick nothing but Green Lantern heroes, because that was my favorite series growing up along with Batman. But I mean, when I was a kid, I used to make like fake like cardboard rings for like Red Lantern, Yellow Lantern, stuff like that. Blue Lantern was always my favorite group,
That's awesome.
but I'm pretty sure they all got killed off.
Well, for the sake of my own sanity and the fact that I'm gonna have to spend several hours uploading this damn thing, we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up pretty soon here. Just to, I mean, we cover pretty much everything. I think this is a good discussion, and thank you both for coming onto the panel and offering your inputs. But let's go ahead around and get like some final thoughts. You want to start with Nathan? Do you have any like couple last things to say?
I think overall, I really like the game. I like its aesthetic. I like all the DC heroes inside of it. I don't really. I agree with Nolan. Like, I don't think it has that much of a future in esports, but I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I think there's room for a MOBA that's sort of just, you know, more of a casual thing. That hey, you know, we like all these characters, and we want a game where we can all play them and, you know, play against each other with friends. So I think it's in a good place. I think there's a couple of things that I would definitely change, but you know, we'll see if as it moves forward if they make those changes.
If you're sitting at home on your Steam library and can't decide what to play, are you gonna pick it up and play some more games of it?
Oh yeah, yeah. Like if I'm bored, I'd play it.
All right, let's segue into that, Nolan. Let's get your final thoughts.
I uninstalled the game after I finished getting some footage of it. I can't. The community's gotten a lot nicer, which is great.
And that's a big problem that a lot of MOBAs have faced too.
Yeah. And honestly, I think it's because it doesn't have a competitive scene. It's a casual MOBA, which, in all honesty, this could be the first of its kind. Where,
yeah,
because the only other casual MOBA there is you know, Adventure Time Battle Party.
I think that's why I kind of like it though. Like, if I get super frustrated from playing League and I just need to, you know, chill out, but I still want to play a MOBA, I might play some Infinite Crisis.
Which is funny because you're normally not the chill out guy. You're normally the problem in the community. You're the one calling people out, telling them to uninstall the game, telling them you're gonna go
hey,
kill.
Whoa.
I've actually got a question for you guys as, you know, developers. Like, I know, Tydus, you're a web developer. Nathan, you're a game developer and an artist. I mean, if you look at the characters, if you look at people like Joker and Batman and Superman, like the big guys, and how many different, I don't know, how many different universes they use, do you think as a developer that that's the right route to go instead of just introducing new characters?
No, I don't think they went the right route.
I think that you can go that route eventually. I think you shouldn't.
Exactly, it's an eventually thing. Here's the thing: when you fucking run out of characters, that's when you introduce the multiverse.
But DC
Not
never
at the
will.
goddamn start. You don't do it at the you don't do it at the start. You just get all your, you know, the universe everyone knows, populate with as many of those as you could feasibly do, and then when you run out of ideas, start bringing in the multiverse. I think that would have been a much better idea from a gameplay perspective.
You pepper in another Batman here, another Joker here, another Harley Quinn here, but don't make it like...
Don't start with 5 Batman.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Like...
I think it's the right idea at the wrong time in development.
Like, who's the main... General Zod. Like, they haven't put Zod in the game, which is surprising to me. But they have Nightmare Superman and Mecha Superman. Nightmare Superman, I don't know if you've played him. I'm sure you'll put up some footage of him.
Yeah.
But his, like... When you hear him speak, he just sounds so, like, scared. And it's creepy because it's not what you would expect for a Superman. Like, I think they got like the characters on, like, spot on, and it's a good addition so people can see a different side of these heroes. But the fact that they didn't introduce like the main villains to Superman,
Yeah, the fact that Zod's... I didn't even think about that. Zod is probably a more recognizable character than a good 30 or 40% of the roster they do have in the game right now.
They put in Crypto.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I mean, I love Crypto. Like, the show on Cartoon Network was one of my favorite shows growing up. But, I mean, they didn't... They have Arcane Supergirl. I feel like they're not...
And none of those are bad characters. It's just, you know, maybe they're not in an order... release-wise, that their roadmap, you know, doesn't necessarily make sense.
They put in Nightmare Robin before they put in Nightwing.
And you know how much of that, you know, there's going to be, like, we're just talking about it from a, you know, does this make sense sort of aspect, but there are hardcore comic book fans that you do not want to anger, that if they don't get the character they want, they're going to not be pleased, and that's not going to be good for...
In all honesty, this kind of feels more like a Batman MOBA than anything.
Yeah, I was surprised.
Because with Poison Ivy, with Catwoman, all the different Batmans, Harley Quinn, all the Jokers, you know, I feel like all they're missing is like the Riddler and the Penguin, and then that'll make this the Batman MOBA.
Oh, the Penguin tank is gonna be great. I'm gonna love that. It's gonna be fun.
He would be. I feel like if they made him like Gragas.
Yeah, exactly. That was what I was gonna say.
That would be perfect. I mean, there's a lot of things that they can do.
Yeah.
That they just... I feel like... I know this is kind of harsh, but I feel like it could possibly just kill the game.
Oh, man. Harsh words. Well, there's a lot they can do in development, and there's a lot we can say to talk about it, but like I said, I have to upload and edit this whole thing, so I'm going to go ahead and cut it here. Thank you guys so much for joining us for the panel. Appreciate your input. If you guys at home have any input, would like to discuss it, or would like to call Nolan a feminist, you can do so in the comment section below, or email TYDUS, that is me, at lastlevel.co, or check out lastlevel.co, our website, that by the time you read this, hopefully it won't be too far from being up. And we should have some more content on there in the future. Not just from Infinite Crisis, but from all sorts of games, anything from indie games to AAA titles, we have you covered. Until next time, I'm Tydus. Nolan, thank you for joining us. Nathan, thank you for joining us. And signing out. We'll see you next time.
Deuces.
Later.
Always watching me.